Alright, good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 11th, day number 132 of Riley and my attempt to hike the Appalachian Trail northbound. That right there is where we set up our tent last night. We're getting started with the day here. Hold up, Riley. Hold up, buddy. I am cold. I am cold. I was warm enough last night in my sleeping bag and liner and all my clothes, and I think Riley slept well. Almost, buddy. So that was good. All right, I'm gonna take his jacket off here. Hold up, buddy. And for the time being, I'm just gonna stuff it inside my rain jacket. But it is just cold out here. We'll get warmer as we get moving. That's a good thing. But it's tough I just don't like the cold weather. I miss the warm weather. I don't miss the unbearable heat, but I do miss the warm weather. It makes hiking so much more enjoyable. All right, Riley. So we have a couple miles to this hut called Galehead Hut. And I'm thinking I'm gonna stop in there and throw my trash away if possible. I have a big trash bag. Riley, you're going too fast. We gotta start off slowly. Riley. And I'm gonna see if they have any food. It'd be nice to eat some food. Oh, Riley, hold up, buddy. I was able to eat last night. And I wasn't hungry going to sleep, but I'm worried that I don't have enough food for Riley, and I'm gonna need to do something to figure that out. So that's all for now. We're starting the day about a half mile after Garfield Ridge Shelter, about mile 1835 on the trail. So we are still making our way to Galehead Hut, or at least to the trail that leads to it. What's wrong, Riley? Come on, buddy. And we are doing a steep descent. We didn't have a big climb this morning, so this must still be the descent from going up to Mount Lafayette yesterday. Even though we did a lot of descent yesterday, this descent is characteristic of many of the trails in the White Mountains, just extremely rocky. You all right, Riley? Come on, over here. And it just makes the hiking very slow, but at least we have good weather. There's always something to complain about, as I have recognized before, but I'm not always cognizant of. There's always something to complain about. I can complain about the coldness, even though the coldness is just bad when during the night and when we're getting ready to go in the morning, but once we get moving, it's not so bad. And definitely feels like it's warmed up since we started the hiking day. So I actually took my orange shirt and my rain jacket off. What's wrong, Riley? What is wrong? Come on. Riley is resisting me. Anyway, so I took my shirts off, and I finally got the courage to put on my my yellow shirt, which is still damp from when it got wet on Saturday night, and today's Wednesday. But it should dry out now that I'm finally putting it on. Come on, Riley. We've seen only southbound hikers today. That could be what's causing Riley to not want to go forward. We've seen like 4 southbound hikers today. Come on, Riley. All right, I'm going to fight with Riley here and make him come with me. The AT is definitely testing us. Testing our resolve. Testing our drive. Making it challenging for us. It's definitely harder hiking through the whites this time than compared to hiking through in 2018, because in 2018 I had the luxury of being able to stay in the huts doing work for stays, and so I was able to, many nights I was able to just eat amazing dinners and amazing breakfasts and start the day with a full stomach, and then not have to really worry about food for much of the day, because I was able to eat so much at night and in the mornings. I think I was able to do at least 3 work for stays at huts, maybe 4, although I think it was 3 during my previous hike in 2018 in the whites. And on top of that, I was able to sleep inside the huts during the nights that I did work for stay, so I didn't have to deal with any of the, I didn't have to deal with, the trouble of setting up my tent, and I didn't have to deal with the cold to the degree that we're dealing with now. And plus, I was hiking through earlier in the season. I was in the whites in mid-August back in 2018, where now we're approaching mid-September, and it's definitely colder now than it was back in 2018 when I was hiking through. Come on, Riley, let's go. Come on, Riley, over here. All right, no, we gotta go this way. This is Gale Head Hut here. Welcome and come in. Come on, Riley, this way, come on. Let's go, sir. Take care, yep, thank you. Happy trails to you. Okay, yep. All right, so we spent a lot of time there. Too much time, but it was a fruitful stop. They did not have any, they were out of breakfast leftovers, but they did have a hiker box, and there were lots of nice goodies in the hiker box. They had 2 cans of corned beef hash. They had a jar of opened but at least half full natural peanut butter. All right, so we're gonna stay on the, now we're getting on the Twinway Trail, which is the AT, and going this way. They had a jar of opened but about a third full honey, and there was a plastic bag of somebody's snack mix, which contained almonds and figs, mostly almonds, a few figs, and a few like honey covered peanuts, I guess. So I was able to eat some of that. I packed out all the corned beef hash. I gave Riley some of the corned beef hash, and I'll give him more later in the day as well. And my belly is finally happy right now. It's no longer growling, and we just gotta hike now. So, and it's warm now. more difficult terrain to get through. All right. This is what we're out here for, I guess. All right, here we go. This is the climb out of Galehead Hut. It's supposed to be only like 0.8 of a mile, but it's super, super steep. Super, super rocky. Mr. Riley. And I'm going a few steps at a time, and then like taking a break. Letting my legs rest, and then a few more steps, and taking another break. I'm just very exhausted. The whites are, it's just like, I mean, this is the climb out of Galehead Hut, and it's extremely difficult. But it's nothing that people talk about in particular, because it's like this, like, not all throughout the whites. There are some flat stretches, you know, easier stretches, but there's just so many climbs like this and descents like this where it's, the rocks are just thrown around every which way. I hear voices back there. Anyway, I apologize for all the complaining. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to document, you know, what I'm feeling. And I am quite exhausted. All right, I think my legs are rested and I'm ready to go on for a few more steps. All right, let's see what we can do. Legs are getting tired again. All right, I'm gonna take another break here. Okay. We're finally getting to the top, it looks like. Hello. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
No. We're camping where we can and staying at shelters if we need to.
Yeah.
So far, I've been able to find campsites outside of the FPAs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've been doing it legally.
Which is probably better for him, right? Or
not necessarily better.
yeah.
It's just worked out that we've been able to find campsites. Riley, calm down. So there's two hunters in front of us that Riley wants to catch up to. I know. Calm down. But I don't want to bother them with Riley's barking, so I'm trying to hold back a bit. Also, I forgot to mention this mountain that we just climbed after Galehead Hut and that we're descending now is called South Twin Mountain. So it's got a name to it. Right up there. My mood is picking up a bit. Feel like I can actually give a smile now. We finally got to a pretty pleasant stretch of trail here. Nice and flat. For most of the rest of the day, as far as we're able to continue, according to the elevation profile, it seems like it's going to be either downhill or flat. Next shelter that we get to is called Gio Shelter. We'll get to a side trail to that shelter. And that's only supposed to be like 2 miles from the summit of South Twin Peak, or South Twin Mountain, which we were just at. So we should be getting to that side trail relatively soon. And then from there, there's a good bit of downhill to get to, or I shouldn't say a good bit of downhill, but the trail from there to Zealand Falls Hut is mostly downhill. And that's about 4.1 miles, I think. From the summit of South Twin Mountain that we were at a little while ago. It was a 6-mile hike to Zealand Falls. And then after we get to Zealand Falls Hut, there is like about 5 miles of, according to the elevation profile, very flat terrain. And I actually do remember this in 2018 after leaving Zealand Falls Hut. I definitely remember that the terrain was very, very friendly in the several miles after that. So I'm very thankful for this break from having to go uphill on extremely difficult terrain, just over and over and over again. At least we have a little break for the rest of the day, it seems like. And the day is turning into just a beautiful day. It's doesn't seem chilly anymore. I mean, obviously we're moving, but even if we were stopped, it's not like uncomfortably cold. So I'm definitely glad that there are still nice days to be had. Riley, hold up. Obviously the trend is that it's going to get colder as we go north and as we get further into the fall. But I'm probably not the only one, but I feel like I have a tendency to project like what's going on in the present to just continue on into the future. And I was getting like just really kind of down and depressed with how cold it's been the past several days, especially I was even colder just because I was in the process of recovering and drying out from my horrific experience on Saturday night. But on top of that, it was definitely chilly the next few days, and I was just not very enthusiastic about continuing to hike as it just gets colder and colder. But today is a good reminder that whatever is going on in the present, it's not necessarily going to continue or always get worse. It can get better sometimes, particularly with weather. Like, obviously the trend is that it's going to get colder as we get further into the fall. But there's still going to be warm fronts that come in and give us nice days. So it's not like every day is going to be freezing. And on top of that, I'm definitely encouraged that, I'm wearing my yellow shirt right now, and it's fully dried out now, finally. So this is the last garment that I had that was still damp going into today, and now everything is fully dried out since the rain that we had on Saturday. So it's up to me now to just make smart decisions and try to keep everything dry. But as long as everything stays dry, I have this yellow shirt, I have my orange shirt, I have my puffy jacket, I have 2 rain jackets now, and I have my hiking pants and my blue leggings that I can wear underneath. Plus I have my sleeping bag and my liner. And with all that gear, I feel like that should be enough, even on very cold nights, to keep both Riley and I warm enough and comfortable. We were warm enough last night, and it was definitely cold, and I wasn't using my yellow shirt. So this will be just an additional weapon in the arsenal to fight the cold going forward. And I'm also very glad for the food that I found in the hiker box today at Galehead Hut. My eyes really just lit up when I saw all the food in there. The 2 cans of corned beef hash were, I probably ate like, between Riley and I, and actually I ate most of it, like a full can of the corned beef hash, and then I packed out the rest. So my stomach is very, very happy now, and I'm super happy that I was able to find the peanut butter as well. I really love peanut butter. It for me, it goes great with everything. I love mixing it in with any other meal that I'm having, whether it be oatmeal or rice or a dehydrated meal that's in one of the prepared pouches that like a peak meal, basically a dehydrated meal that you buy in the store, which I have several of now. Yeah, I just love mixing peanut butter in, and it does a great job of keeping my stomach somewhat satisfied. And it's wonderful that I can just eat it straight out of the jar as well, not have to worry about putting water in it and waiting until stuff hydrates. So this will help Riley and I get through the whites with enough food, and I'm definitely going to check in at all of the feature huts and look for the hiker boxes, see if they have hiker boxes, and if they have food for the taking, I will be glad to add it to our food bag to help us stay well nourished. All right, that's all. Just showing my face in my orange shirt, but the trail continues to be relatively pleasant. So hopefully the rest of the day goes well. So we got back above tree line briefly and got a nice view. And the 2 hikers that we met on South Twin Mountain, I don't remember their names, if they told me or not, but they were planning to stay at Guyot Shelter, or Guyot, Guyot, and they got off at the side trail called Bond Cliff Trail, which leads to that shelter, just a short while ago. Riley's still whimpering because he wanted to follow them. I know, Riley. And it looks like we're about to get back under tree line here. So we have less than, we're probably like 3.8 miles or so to get to Zeeland Falls or Zeeland Falls Hut. And from there, I think there's a few campsites on the flat stretch of land that we can plan to get to. So I just want to try to get to Zeeland Falls Hut before, I mean, you know, with as much daylight as possible, but as long as we get there before dark, I'm comfortable that we'll be fine to find a campsite, since we don't have doesn't seem like we have super difficult terrain after that. So onward we go. I was a second too late. There was a really curious looking bird that was like perched like just right up there, and it was looking down at Riley and I. It was like white and black, and then it flew away. But it was like very comfortable being close to us, and it was super close, but then it flew away just as I turned the camera on. Riley insisted that we come into this campsite. If we were to camp here, I guess that spot over there might be big enough for our 2-person tent, but it would be very tight. There are definitely campsites to be had in the White Mountains. I didn't really pay that much attention to it when I was hiking in 2018 because I was more focused on staying in the huts. But I'm definitely more focused on campsites now that huts are not an option. So I'm paying close attention to when I see a campsite. And a lot of the campsites that are available are like rather tiny. Like you can probably best for one person tents. And anyway, but they're around. So that's encouraging. So we've done some more uphill. And now it looks like we have most of the downhill to go. Gosh, the sun is so low. The sun is setting. So we're gonna have to do some hiking in the dark, unfortunately. But we still have a little daylight. We still have a good ways to go to Zealand Falls Hut. Probably at least... Oh, Riley, what are you doing, dude? He keeps smelling stuff and pulling me back. Yeah, we have a ways to go, so not super happy about that. I'm unhappy about that. Unhappy, and it is getting chilly. Riley, you're facing the wrong way. So I checked my Far Out app to give myself some information. And when I checked it about 10 minutes ago, we were exactly 2 miles away from Zealand Falls Hut. And it was 6:46 p.m. And 0.4 miles after the hut, there's supposed to be a tent site. There are more tent sites after that but I think the earliest tent site is about 0.4 after the hut. So we might be able to get there by 8 p.m. We'll see. My stomach is much happier right now than it's been the past few days. I think the hike on Saturday night caused Riley and I to expend a lot of energy and has contributed to me feeling very, very hungry the past few days. Whoops. That looks like a tent site right there. Lots of tent sites. Tent site right there too. Anyway, we're gonna continue on and try to get to this this hut and then find a campsite after that. Twinway Trail, AT. Stay here, spur to Z Cliff Pond. Okay. Come on, Riley. That little dot there in the distance is the moon. It's like a less than a half moon. Maybe like a... I'm not sure what the names are, but like half crescent or waning crescent. We are currently at a very nice view spot, although it's dark out, called White Wall Slide, and the trail is very pleasant here, but to our right and to our left of us there are giant rocks and boulders, and there's a huge drop off to our right, and we have views across the way to many, many mountain ranges. And I think we're only a few tenths of a mile away from a campsite. So hopefully we get there soon. It's about 9 o'clock now. All right, good evening. Riley and I are in our tent now. We've been in our tent for a while and just want to close out the day for day number 132, Wednesday, September 11th. The 23rd anniversary of the attacks in 2001. So, we made it down to Zealand Falls Hut eventually, and it was dark by the time we got there. I was using my headlamp on the way down, and it was a pretty rocky descent, pretty typical of the White Mountain terrain. And I did stop in to ask if I could look at the hiker box, but there wasn't really much in there. There were no food items. So I was able to fill up my water at the hut, and then we continued on. And my plan was to just hike another few tenths of a mile. And there was, I'd read on Far Out that there was a campsite, like right on the trail, just a few tenths of a mile after the hut. And the first site that I saw, there was already somebody using that site. So Riley and I continued to hike on. And then we found another site, actually, very soon after. But for some reason, I didn't take it. It was right on the trail. It would have been perfect. It was a little small, but I think it would have been big enough for our tent. But I guess I was just thinking that the trail was very pleasant. I knew the trail was going to be flat and pretty easy to walk on, and I was pretty sure there were other tent sites. Based on some Far Out comments coming up. So I felt like, why not hike a little bit more, take advantage of the nice trail, and get a little bit farther. So we got to around the place where the next tent site that I was targeting was located. And I sort of saw where it was. It was kind of, I saw a patch of land, like, not right on the trail, but you had to walk off, and then there was like a little dip to the right of the trail, and it looked like there might be some sites down there, but it didn't look obvious. And it also seemed like it was a little before where the site was supposed to be. So I figured we should hike on, and that a better site would show up, based on which I believed was the site that was referred to in the comments that I was reading. But I didn't see any site after we hiked on for a while. So it must have been the site that I had seen previously that was just a little bit before I thought it should have been. Anyway, so we missed that site. And so we kept hiking on. And eventually I found a little side trail off to the right of the AT and followed it for a ways. And it led to a pretty nice campsite that wasn't even mentioned in Far Out. I just happened to find it. And so that's where we're here now. We ended up hiking about 2.6 miles after the hut, and we're at mile 1846.7 now, according to Far Out. So we hiked a total of 11.7 miles today. It's another chilly night. Definitely gets, it's like a switch gets flipped. Like it was actually hot during the day today particularly when we were at the Galehead hut and not moving. The sun was high overhead and getting things quite warm. And I had Riley in the shade to keep him cool. And then the evening hit, and I immediately felt like it's no longer warm. It's chilly now, but mildly chilly, not super chilly. And then the darkness set in, and then it was not just chilly; it was cold. And it's cold now, but we have our warm clothes on to keep us warm. So we're making progress. Our pace is definitely slowed by the White Mountains, but we're still making progress. Tomorrow I'm targeting to do about 11.8 miles, I think. And try to get to the Mizpah, I think it's called Mizpah Spring Hut, and there is supposed to be a campsite right next to it called the Nomen campsite or Nomen tent site. That's what I'm thinking about getting to tomorrow, and that'll put us about like 6 miles south of the summit of Mount Washington. So if we can get to this campsite that I'm thinking tomorrow, we should be able to then try to hike up and over Mount Washington the next day, which will be Friday. So we'll see how that goes. Before that, we got to get a good night's sleep tonight and try to get off to a good start tomorrow. We got off to a late start today, primarily because it was so cold this morning and I wasn't motivated to get off or to try to get up very early. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But before that, we got to get a good night's sleep tonight, and yeah, that's it for today. Hope you're doing well if you're watching this, as always, and we'll check in tomorrow for day number 133, Thursday, September the 12th. Also, based on where we're at right now, we have just over 350 miles to go to Mount Katahdin. The mileage can be deceiving, though, because not all AT miles are created equal. The miles we walked on, just to end the day after getting to the hut were very pleasant. Went by very quickly. The miles that we hiked, like after Galehead Hut, ascending South Twin Mountain, were extremely challenging. Same distance, but definitely not the same level of difficulty. So there's plenty more very difficult miles left in that 350. That's going to make it extremely challenging. And it's not just the terrain. The terrain is a big part of it, but another, equally significant challenge of hiking the AT is dealing with the various weather that's thrown at you. In this, currently we're needing to deal with the cold. Dealing with your own motivations and your own ability to maximize your time to hike, such as like being able to get up early in the morning or not get up early in the morning. That all plays into it. It's not just how difficult the trail is and how difficult the hiking is. It's dealing with everything else that's thrown at you that makes hiking the AT a challenging but rewarding experience. So I will stop rambling here and we'll say goodnight and we'll check in tomorrow. Okay, bye for now.